I should have known something was off when James insisted on having brunch at the Ritz. In our 10 years of marriage, my husband had always complained about their overpriced eggs and pretentious atmosphere. But here we were, dressed in our Sunday best, with our daughter Emma swinging her legs under the pristine white tablecloth. "The whole family will be there," he'd said that morning, adjusting his tie for the third time. "Mom's birthday deserves something special." I'd nodded, choosing to ignore how his hands trembled while buttoning his shirt. The elegant dining room was already half full when we arrived. James's mother, Margaret, sat at the head of the table, her silver hair perfectly coiffed, while his father, Robert, pretended to understand the wine list. James's sister, Lisa, was running late, as usual. "Where's Aunty Lisa?" Emma asked, carefully arranging her napkin like the little lady Margaret was always pushing her to be. "She promised to show me pictures from her trip." "I'm sure she'll be here soon, sweetheart," I replied, catching the strange look that passed between James and his mother. Lisa breezed in 15 minutes later, wearing a designer dress I could have sworn I'd seen in the window of Saks last week. Funny, considering she just complained about being behind on her rent during our last family dinner. Sorry, she chirped, air-kissing everyone's cheeks. Traffic was absolutely brutal. She slid into the seat next to James, their shoulders touching just a fraction too long. I focused on helping Emma with her menu, pushing down the familiar unease that always surfaced around my sister-in-law. Lisa had never liked me, that much was clear from the day James introduced us. "A kindergarten teacher," she'd said, her perfectly plucked eyebrows arching. How quaint. The waiter came to take our orders, and I couldn't help but notice how Lisa ordered the most expensive items without even glancing at the prices. Margaret beamed at her daughter, always the proud mother. "Lisa just booked another luxury property for her real estate portfolio," she announced to the table. I bit my tongue, remembering the tearful phone call last month when Lisa had begged James for help with her mortgage payment. He'd stepped out of the room to take that call. But our walls were thin. "Mommy," Emma whispered, tugging at my sleeve. "Look what I found." She held up a shiny gold credit card that must have fallen under the table. I recognized it immediately. It was James' executive card, the one he used strictly for business expenses. "Oh, that's mine," Lisa said quickly, reaching across the table. "Must have slipped from my purse." But Emma frowned, her little forehead crinkling in confusion. "But it has Daddy's name on it. See," she pointed at the embossed letters, her finger tracing Jamie's parkier with the innocence only a child could possess. The silence that fell over the table was deafening. Margaret's fork clattered against her plate. Robert suddenly became very interested in his water glass, and James, my James, looked like he might be sick. "Emma, sweetie," Lisa started, her voice honey-sweet but trembling. "That's not. Why does Aunty Lisa have Daddy's golden credit card?" Emma asked louder this time, her clear voice carrying across the elegant brunch setting. "You said only Daddy uses the golden one for his big boy work stuff." My mind raced back to last week, when I'd been organizing James's home office. The bank statements I found tucked behind his old tax returns, the ones showing thousands in charges at high-end restaurants and hotels I'd never been to. The late-night business meetings that had become more frequent. The lingering scent of unfamiliar perfume on his suits. "I can explain," James said, reaching for my hand across the table. I pulled away, my fingers curling into fists in my lap. "Yes, James," I said, my voice steadier than I felt. "Please explain why your sister has your business credit card, the one your firm issued specifically for client meetings and company expenses." Lisa's face had lost its carefully maintained composure. "It's not what you think." "What I think," I cut in, "is that there's a perfectly reasonable explanation for why my husband's credit card is in his sister's possession. Just like there's probably a reasonable explanation for the $5,000 charge at Cartier last month or the weekend booking at the Four Seasons when you were supposedly at a real estate conference in Chicago." Margaret cleared her throat. "Perhaps this isn't the best place." "No, Mother," I said, surprising myself with the ice in my voice. "I think brunch at the Ritz is the perfect place to discuss how your daughter has been using my husband's company card. After all, isn't this exactly the type of establishment where they've been meeting?" Emma looked between all of us, her small face clouded with worry. "Did I do something wrong, Mommy?" "No, baby," I said, smoothing her hair. "You did exactly right. Sometimes adults need little angels like you to help them see the truth." I stood up, my chair scraping against the polished floor. Emma, sweetheart, let's go get some ice cream. I think the grown-ups need to have a very serious conversation about credit cards and family loyalty. Sarah, please. James reached for me again, but I stepped back. Keep the card, Lisa, I said, helping Emma out of her chair. I'm sure you and James have plenty more charges to discuss with his firm's accounting department. And Margaret? Happy birthday. I'd say enjoy your brunch, but I have a feeling appetites might be a bit spoiled. As I walked out of the restaurant, holding my daughter's small hand, I could hear the heated whispers erupting behind us. My phone was already buzzing in my purse, probably James trying to damage control of the situation. But all I could think about was the proud way Emma had shown me that card, not knowing she had just exposed a betrayal that went far deeper than unauthorized credit card charges. Mommy, Emma said as we stepped into the bright Sunday morning, can I have chocolate ice cream? I smiled down at her, fighting back tears. You can have whatever flavor you want, baby. And then maybe we'll go visit Grandma Julie for a few days. Would you like that? She nodded enthusiastically, skipping beside me, already forgetting the tension she'd left in her wake. But I knew this was just the beginning. Once I dropped Emma at my mother's, I had some serious digging to do, starting with those bank statements and ending with a visit to my lawyer. Sometimes it takes a child's innocent question to shatter the perfect facade of a family Sunday brunch, and sometimes that's exactly what needs to happen. The next morning, I sat in my mother's sunny kitchen, surrounded by stacks of bank statements and credit card bills I'd retrieved from our house while James was at work. My hands trembled as I highlighted each suspicious transaction, creating a paper trail of betrayal in neon yellow. Have you reached out to his firm yet? Mom asked, placing a fresh cup of coffee beside me while keeping one eye on Emma playing in the backyard. Not yet, I sighed, circling another charge at a high-end jewelry store. But I did call Susan from HR. You remember her from the company Christmas party? She's checking something for me discreetly. The transactions told a story I hadn't wanted to read. Regular Thursday night charges at La Blanche, an intimate French restaurant across town. Weekend stays at luxury hotels when James was supposedly at real estate conferences with Lisa. Jewelry purchases that had never made their way to my jewelry box. My phone buzzed. You've been listed as James's spouse on his corporate hotel bookings for the past 6 months, I continued. Apparently, the firm's travel department needed a spouse's name for insurance purposes. Funny how that worked out, isn't it? I can explain. You know what the worst part is? I interrupted, feeling eerily calm. It's not even the money. It's not the lies. It's how you both sat across from me at every family dinner, watching me teach Emma about honesty and family values, while you were making a mockery of everything I thought we stood for. Sarah, please, Lisa's composure cracked. You don't understand. James and I. Mom. Emma's small voice came from behind me. She must have come in through the back door. Why is Auntie Lisa crying? Lisa stepped forward, reaching for Emma. Sweetie. Don't, I said sharply, pulling Emma behind me. Don't you dare. Everything okay out here? My mother appeared, her face set in the stern expression that had terrified me as a teenager. Lisa was just leaving, I said firmly. And she's going to tell James that if he wants to discuss anything, he can do it through my lawyer. A lawyer? Lisa's eyes widened. Sarah, don't be dramatic. We can work this out as a family. I laughed, but there was no humor in it. Family? You want to talk about family? How about we talk about how you and my husband have been playing house with company money while I helped Emma with her homework and attended PTA meetings alone? Mommy? Emma tugged at my shirt. Are you mad at Auntie Lisa because of the golden card? I knelt down to her level, smoothing her hair. No, baby. Mommy's mad because sometimes grown-ups make bad choices that hurt people they're supposed to love. Like when I took Tommy's crayon without asking and you made me apologize. Something like that, I said, fighting back tears. But much bigger. Lisa made a choked sound. Sarah, what are you going to do? I stood up, keeping Emma's hand in mine. I'm going to do what I teach my kindergartners every day. Stand up for what's right and don't let anyone make you feel small. The firm, Lisa whispered. If they find out, they already know, I cut in. Susan's email wasn't just about the hotel bookings. The accounting department has launched an investigation. Apparently, mixing personal and business expenses is a big no-no, especially when you're trying to make partner. The color drained from Lisa's face. You didn't. I didn't have to do anything, I said. Emma's innocent question at brunch sent up red flags. The firm's travel coordinator was at the next table. Funny how karma works, isn't it? Mom, Emma tugged at my hand. Can I go back to my bubbles? Of course, sweetheart. I watched her skip away before turning back to Lisa. You should go. I believe you and James have some explaining to do at tomorrow's board meeting. As Lisa stumbled back to her car, my mother placed a supportive hand on my shoulder. You okay? I nodded, watching Lisa's luxury car, probably paid for with James's credit card, disappear down the street. You know what? I actually am. For the first time in months, things are finally clear. My phone buzzed again with a text from James. The firm called. We need to talk now. I deleted the message without responding and went to join Emma in the backyard. She greeted me with a soapy smile, her small hands creating perfect, shimmering spheres that floated away on the breeze. Mommy, look, this one looks like a heart. I watched the bubble rise and burst, just like my marriage. But unlike that fragile sphere, I wasn't going to disappear quietly. James and Lisa's carefully constructed world of lies was about to pop, and I had front row seats to the show. Make another one, baby, I said, sitting down beside her. Mommy could use some bubble magic right now. 3 weeks later, I sat in my lawyer's office, reviewing the final divorce papers. The firm's investigation had revealed far more than just unauthorized credit card use. James and Lisa had been running a complex scheme, using company resources to flip properties and pocket the profits. Their Thursday dates at La Blanc had been meetings with potential investors, all billed to the company under the guise of client dinners. The firm is pressing charges, my lawyer, Patricia, explained, sliding another document across her desk. They're offering you a separate settlement since you helped expose the fraud, albeit unintentionally. I glanced at the figure and almost choked on my coffee. That's generous. They're trying to avoid a scandal. A partner and his sister-in-law misappropriating funds. The press would have a field day. My phone lit up with a text from Margaret, James's mother. She'd been surprisingly quiet since the brunch incident, but her message made my heart skip. I found something you should see. Can we meet? An hour later, I sat across from my soon-to-be ex-mother-in-law at a small cafe, watching her hands shake as she pushed a manila envelope toward me. I found these while cleaning out Lisa's old room, she said, her voice barely above a whisper. They're from 15 years ago, before you met James. Inside were letters, dozens of them, exchanged between James and Lisa during his first year of law school. They weren't siblings' casual correspondence. They were love letters. They're not, Margaret struggled with the words. They're not actually related. Robert and I adopted Lisa when James was away at boarding school. We never told anyone. It was easier to pretend she was our biological daughter. The cafe suddenly felt too small, too hot. Did they know? When I married James, did they know? Margaret nodded, tears streaming down her face. They agreed to end things when James met you. We all thought it was over. Until it wasn't, I finished, feeling strangely detached. Until they started their little business venture. I'm so sorry, Sarah. I should have told you years ago. I carefully put the letters back in the envelope. No, Margaret, they should have told me. Before I walked down the aisle. Before I had Emma. Before I spent 10 years building a life on lies. Emma, Margaret's voice cracked. She's the only innocent one in all this. And she's the one who brought down their house of cards with a simple question. I said, almost laughing at the irony. Out of the mouths of babes, right? Later that evening, as Emma and I finished packing the last boxes in our new apartment, she found an old family photo album. Mommy, can we still keep these pictures? I sat beside her on the floor, looking at snapshots of happier times, or what I thought were happier times. Of course we can, baby. They're part of our story. Even the ones with Daddy and Aunty Lisa? Yes, I said, closing the album gently. Sometimes we need reminders of the past to appreciate our present. My phone buzzed with an email from Patricia. The divorce was final. James had agreed to all terms, likely hoping to avoid any more scrutiny before his criminal trial. Lisa had apparently fled to Europe, leaving him to face the consequences alone. Mommy, Emma said, pulling me from my thoughts. Can we get ice cream? like we did after brunch that day. I smiled, remembering how a simple dessert run had become our ritual for handling big changes. Sure, baby. But first, help me hang this up. I pulled out a framed piece of Emma's artwork, a bright, colorful drawing of just the two of us, surrounded by hearts and flowers. She'd made it at school last week when asked to draw her family. It's perfect right here, I said, hanging it in our new living room. Just like us. As we walked to the ice cream shop, Emma skipping ahead and chattering about flavors, I thought about how sometimes the worst betrayals can lead to the best beginnings. My 5-year-old's innocent question had shattered our family's carefully constructed facade, but from those broken pieces, we were building something stronger. Something real. My phone buzzed one last time, another text from James. I never meant to hurt you. I deleted it without responding and watched Emma press her nose against the ice cream shop's window, her breath fogging the glass as she pointed out all the flavors she wanted to try. Can I get 2 scoops, Mommy? Pretty please. You know what? Make it 3, I told the server, smiling at Emma's delighted gasp. We're celebrating. What are we celebrating? I thought about the settlement money that would put her through college, about our fresh start in our cozy apartment, about the weight of lies finally lifted from our shoulders. We're celebrating truth, baby, I said, accepting our ice cream cones. And new beginnings. As we sat on a nearby bench, ice cream dripping down our fingers in the warm evening air, I realized that sometimes the most devastating revelations come from the purest sources. My daughter's simple question about a credit card had unraveled a decade of deception, but it had also set us free. Mommy, Emma said, chocolate ice cream smeared across her chin. I like our new home better. It feels more like us. I wiped her face with a napkin, my heart full. Me too, baby, me too. Because sometimes it takes a child's innocence to show us the way forward, even when that path begins with a question asked over Sunday brunch.